Watch someone alone in their car at a red light. Their lips are moving, and nobody's on the phone. Look closer, they're not singing along to anything. They're winning. Or catch yourself in the shower. Somewhere between the shampoo and the hot water running out, you're mid-speech, making a point, and landing it. To the tiles. The words are sharp. The delivery is perfect. You go back and run the best line a second time, and it lands even harder than the first. And the other person, the boss, the mother, the friend, they're saying exactly what you need them to say. They push back just enough to make your answer brilliant. And then they fold. In your head they finally see it, they admit it, they go quiet. The argument ends the way real arguments never end. Then the water goes cold, or the light turns green. And you come back to the room, a little embarrassed, heart actually going. You just fought somebody who was never there. So here's the question. Why would you hold a full trial, opening statement, cross-examination, closing argument, against a person who isn't in the room? Because before you file it under harmless daydreaming, watch what it does to your body. Your jaw is set, your pulse is up, your hands have gone somewhere. Your body isn't daydreaming. Your body is in the fight. It just can't find the opponent. And here's the first tell. The argument you rehearse is almost never the argument you go on to have. The rehearsal isn't a draft, it's the performance. Because run the tape backwards. That speech in the shower, where did it start? It didn't come from nowhere. It has a date on it. There was a real moment, a meeting, a phone call, a kitchen. Somebody said the thing, it landed on you, and you said nothing. Or you said something small, and it wasn't enough. The moment closed. Everyone moved on. But you didn't move on, you just moved rooms. Because unsaid words don't dissolve. That's the part nobody tells you. The sentence you needed to say and didn't, it doesn't evaporate. It cues. And the rehearsal is where the cue finally moves. Every argument in the shower is an old moment being reopened, and this time, you get your turn. So it isn't rehearsal at all. That's the wrong word. You're not preparing for a conversation that's coming, you're repairing one that already happened. Watch what you actually change in the replay. The other person says the same line they really said, word for word, you kept that part. The only character you rewrite is you. In the real kitchen you went quiet, in the replay you're eloquent. In the real meeting you laughed it off, in the replay you put it down calmly, devastatingly, and nobody is laughing. That's why it loops. You're not solving anything, so it can't finish. You're correcting a record that can't be corrected, so the court just stays in session. And notice who's playing the other person. You are. You write their lines, you decide when they push back, you decide when they crumble. That's the real reason it feels so good in there. It's the only argument you've ever had where you control both sides. The version of them in your head reads the script you wrote. They object exactly on cue, and they concede exactly on cue. Real people have never once done that. And that's the trap. The more times you win in there, the less the real conversation looks worth booking. You already know the real room won't follow the script. So the rehearsal doesn't lead to the conversation. The rehearsal replaces the conversation. It's not the warm-up, it's the whole game, played alone. But hold on, why you? Plenty of people just say the thing in the moment, and it's done, and they sleep. What decided that you'd be the one holding trials at midnight? Go back far enough and there's usually a room where answering back had a price. A house where the wrong reply made the whole evening go dark. Where you watched what happened to the last person who argued, and took notes without knowing you were taking notes. So the kid learns the math early. Speaking up in the moment costs more than it wins. The comeback isn't cancelled, it's postponed. And the comeback finds the only venue it was ever allowed, later, alone, on the stairs, in the dark, where nobody can make it worse. Maybe for you it wasn't fear, maybe it was speed. Every real argument moved faster than you could load. The perfect answer always arrived 20 minutes after the door closed. Either way, the same lesson lands. The moment is not where you win. The moment is where you lose, winning happens afterwards, in private, in the replay. Do that for enough years and the wiring settles. Now, the instant something lands on you and you don't answer, somewhere in the back a courtroom starts setting up chairs. Now watch who you rehearse against, because it isn't random. You don't hold midnight trials for strangers. The rude cashier gets 5 minutes of replay. The driver who cut you off is gone by dinner. But the boss, the mother, the partner, they get seasons. Because the rehearsal list isn't a list of people who wronged you. It's a list of people you can't afford to confront. Look at the pattern. The people in your head court are exactly the ones where a real fight could cost something you're not willing to pay, the job, the family peace, the relationship. You can afford to lose the cashier, so the cashier gets confronted or forgotten. You can't afford to lose them. So they get prosecuted somewhere safe, where the verdict changes nothing. Count the rehearsals and you've drawn a map. Every imaginary argument marks a real place where you're holding something in. The court schedule is a map of your unsaid words. Now here's what it's costing, because it isn't free. Your body can't tell a rehearsed fight from a real one. Adrenaline doesn't check whether the opponent showed up. So you run the trial at midnight and your heart runs it with you. You lose real sleep over a fight that never happened, and wake up tired from a war held in an empty room. And then you see them. The actual person. And you walk in carrying a verdict from a trial they never attended. They say, "Morning," and get a coldness they can't trace. They've been on trial for weeks in a courtroom they've never seen. They lost, and nobody told them. That's the strange cruelty of it. You've had this argument 30 times, and they haven't had it once. You're exhausted from a fight they don't know exists. And the resentment compounds quietly, because in your head they keep doing it. Every replay adds a count to the charge sheet while the real person stands perfectly still. Until one day they say something small, nothing, really, and get the whole backlog at once. And they stand there stunned, wondering how a spilled coffee started a war. They never saw the cue behind the door. Now here's the cruel joke at the center of it, the part that keeps the whole machine running. The rehearsal feels like it's building you up to finally speak. It's doing the opposite. Every imaginary win bleeds off a little pressure. And pressure, the uncomfortable, rising kind, is the only thing that ever forces a hard conversation into the world. Say it to the tiles, and the pressure drops just below the level where you'd have said it in the meeting. The valve works. That's the problem, it works. So the courtroom in your head isn't the road to the conversation. It's the detour that keeps the conversation from ever becoming urgent enough to have. And years can pass like that. Decades of arguments happen between two people, and every single one of them happens inside one head, in a bathroom, with the fan going. The unsaid thing never gets said. It just gets performed. Nightly, to an audience of tiles. And the person it was all for goes on thinking everything's fine. Because from the outside, silence and peace look identical. Now here's where you stop pretending this is about other people. You've held one of these trials, recently. You know the courtroom. Think of the last argument you won in your head. You can still feel the best line, can't you? You've polished it, and it's been ready for weeks. Now notice who it was for. Not the stranger, not the cashier. Someone who's leaving, or whose anger, or whose silence would actually cost you. And notice when the trials run. Not at lunch, at night, in the car, in the shower, in every room where you're finally alone. That's when the day's unsaid words come out of the queue. That rehearsal isn't proof you're petty, or that you can't let things go. It's more precise than that. It's a flag on the map, marking the exact spot where something true is still waiting to be said out loud. And the person you rehearse against the most? That's not your enemy. That's just the person holding the other end of your longest unsaid sentence. Some of those sentences are 20 years old now. Some belong to people you don't even see anymore. You're still winning arguments against people who have left, or changed, or died. The trial goes on because it never gets what it actually came for. It was never after victory. It was after being heard, and an empty room can't hear you. That's why winning in there never once made it stop. You've won 1,000 times. Has it ever stayed one? So tonight, when the court convenes, and it will, you'll at least know what you're looking at. Not pettiness. A queue at a door, finally getting its turn. And you'll know what the perfect comeback actually is. It's a sentence that got separated from its moment. It's been circling ever since, looking for a way back in. And you'll know what it means now when someone takes the hit in a meeting and just laughs along. You'll know where that sentence is going. You'll know what their drive home sounds like. You'll spot them everywhere. The figure at the red light, hands arguing with the windscreen. The one pacing the office corridor at 7, delivering a speech to the carpet. Whole invisible parliaments, running every night, in showers, in cars, in dark kitchens everywhere. Millions of perfect closing arguments, delivered to nobody. And every one of them is the same thing underneath. Not conflict, not really. A person who once went quiet in some room, still trying to get one sentence back to the moment that needed it. So somewhere tonight, the water will be running, and somebody will be winning. Eloquent. Devastating. Completely alone. And now you'll know what you're really hearing. Not somebody who loves a fight. Somebody who was never allowed to finish one. The courtroom in their head is the only room that ever let them finish the sentence. That's why they keep going back. That's all it ever was.